In this video, I'm going to be teaching how to cut and sew this jumpsuit. I used 3 yards of crepe fabric, and this is the cutting or the pattern drafting tutorials. I'll be uploading the sewing video soon. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to be doing is to fold my brown paper into 2 and then mark 1 inch down to serve as a guideline. After marking, I'm going to be drawing a straight line, and that line becomes our shoulder line. So from the shoulder, I'm marking 9 inches down from my shoulder to bust, and then 16 inches down from the shoulder for my shoulder to waist measurements. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to join the lines together this way. After that, I'm going to be labeling the part so you know what exactly I'm doing. Next thing I'll be doing is to divide my waist by 4 and then mark it down, and then divide my bust by 4. So let's say your bust is 40, you divide by 4, you get 10 inches. So you're marking that at the bust line as well. Next thing I'll be doing is to join those 2 points together. After that, I'm marking my shoulder line, which is 14 divided by 2. I had 7 inches, so that is what I marked there. And then I'll be marking that same 7 inches on the bust line as well. Then join those 2 points together. Next thing I'll be doing is to mark my neckline. But this neckline is not really needed in this tutorials, but then it will serve as a guideline for us. So after marking, I went ahead to join the points together this way, and then I'm going to be dropping the shoulder by 1 inch, then connect from the shoulder to the neckline. After that, I'm going to be going up by 2 inches from the bust line to get my chest line. Note this is only to serve as a guideline. It's not really relevant in these tutorials, but then serving as a guideline. After that, I'm going to divide from the shoulder to the bust into 2, the drop shoulder into 2. Whatever you get, you mark it down and then come in by ½ inch. After coming in by ½ inch, just use your armhole curve to draw in your armhole this way. After that, I'm going to be marking 1 inch at the side for our dart. The size of the waist fitting dart is 1 inch. That is what I just marked there, and then I'll be joining it to the chest line. Now I'm going to be marking my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 7 divided by 2. I had 3.5 inches, so that is what I marked on the waist and then bust line, and then I joined the point together to get a straight line. After that, we are going to determine the new neckline. So you want to decide how deep or high you want the neckline to be. So I'm going up by 3.5 inches from the bust line. This is very okay for coverage. It's going to cover up at the chest area, but then if you want it lower, you can make it 3, and if you want it higher, you can make it 4. So from the side seam on the chest line, I went up by 1 inch. This is because this doesn't have a sleeve and I don't want the armhole to be very deep. That is why I marked 1 inch up. Next thing I'll be doing is to trace out this pattern onto another brown paper. So I've traced it out, and then at this point I'm marking or ruling out the lines to show you what I have. So this is what I have after tracing out. So this is how the front is supposed to be. You have to get all the 2 sides for the front. It shouldn't be cut on fold, or it shouldn't be just one side like this. So I went ahead to trace that half side on another brown paper, which I'll be using for the back after working on the front. So that is for the back. And then I added extra 1 inch to the center back for zip extension. So before you trace, make sure you fold 1 inch in, which wouldn't be part of the main bodice, to get your zipper extension. Next thing I'm going to be doing now is to work on the front after tracing both fronts and then back out. So you remember I marked 1 inch at the side for that. I'm going to be placing it in on both sides of the darts, and then the front dart starts 1 inch below the bust point. So that is what I'm marking over there, and then after that I'm going to connect those points together this way. After joining them together, I'm going to indicate the dart allowance on the side as well, so that she don't get confused. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to plan the structure or design at the front of the jumpsuit. So what I'm going to be doing now is to mark 4.5 from the center of the bodice. So you can make it 4.5, I think, from 3.5, 4.5, or to 5 inches. So you can decide which you want to use depending on how pointy or how deep or long you want it to be. So after marking the 4.5, I'm going to extend or mark the line over there and then extend from that point in. So from the chest line, when I measured, it was about 3.5, it was about 3 inches from the new neckline. So that is what I'm going to be using. Now at the waistline, you can decide to mark that same 3.5 down there, or you can use 3 inches or 4.5 inches, depending on how long or how curvy or pointy you want the shape to be. So from the center front, I came in by 1 inch. You can make it about 2 inches if you want it longer. So now I'm going to connect from that point to that point. And then after that, I'll be joining from that point to the waistline. So like I said, you can make it deeper if you want, but this is what I used for the jumpsuit. So from that point, I'll connect to that point also. So this is how the structure or the design in front of the jumpsuit look like. So next thing I'll be doing is to trace it out and then show you what I have. Like I said, you can make this long. I realized it was looking a bit funny over there, so I added half into it and then reconnected it to the waistline. To get it right, you can use your pencil to draw in more curves or designs to decide how deep or low you want the structure or design in front to be. You can go by this as well. It will all look good. So next thing I'm going to be doing is to trace it out and then show you what I have, like I said earlier. But then the curve should be up to the waist. I realized I drew it to the portion of the dart I added, but then let it end exactly on the waist. And then at the armhole, you can decide to maintain it this way, or you can extend it and then later fold it in when you are sewing. So I used this method and then folded it in when I was sewing, and then that was easier for me. So you can go by this, or you can decide to cut directly on the armhole. It will still work out. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to show you the traced structure I was talking about. So this is how it looks like without seam allowance. So I'll later add seam allowance to it before I join it or cut out on my fabric. Next thing I'm going to be doing from here is to decide if I'm going to be fixing a sleeve or a strap. But with the design, it has a strap which is not visible. It's actually very plain, and then matches with the skin, but then I don't have that, so I'll be using a piece of fabric for that. So at this point I marked 5.5 inches for the strap, which I later reduced by 1 inch because I realized I didn't slant the shoulder at that point. So you can slant the shoulder before you cut out the strap. This is just an example I'm doing on it. You can decide to make it very thin, very small, or you can decide to fix a sleeve. It all depends on you. So this is what I have at the moment. Like I said, it's supposed to be 4.5 if we slant the shoulder, but then I wrote 5.5 over there. Ignore that. Next thing I'm doing is to cut it out and then show you what I have. Before that, I'm going to be working on the back. So first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark my darts 1 inch on both sides, and then I'm going to add the darts to the side. The dart is actually inside already. I just didn't trace it out. Sorry, I didn't mark it after tracing out, so don't add any extra dart to it. There's that already on the front which was traced out, so don't add extra darts to it. So at this point I'm drawing in the strap so you see what I have. So this is just to serve as a guideline. Like I said, you can decide to make it very thin, and I added extra 1 inch to it, like I said earlier, for the zip extension. At this point, we are almost done with the back. Like I said, I didn't mark out the dart after tracing. That is why the dart is over there. So at the center back, I'm going to be dropping it by 1 inch because I don't want it to be as straight as the front. So after dropping it, I'm going to be using my ruler to shape the back this way. And after that, I'll be cutting out. So this is what I have for the front, and then that is for the back, and that is for the design or structure. So I have 3 pieces. Let's work on the pants. So first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark the length of my pants, which is 42 inches. So I'm marking 42 inches at this point, and then I'll be adding extra 2 inches to it for folding. So 42 is the actual trouser length. If I add the 2 inches to it, it's going to be 44 inches. Kindly take note of that. So after adding the 2 inches, I'm going to be drawing in the line this way. Next thing I'll be doing is to mark my crotch measurements, which is the hip divided by 4. So at this point, I'm dividing the hip by 4 to show you what I have. So you can actually use your ruler for that, your calculator for that, but then I'm using the tape measure for it in case you don't have your calculator with you. So when you divide the hip by 4, whatever you get, you mark it down. I'm having 10.75, so that is what I marked over there. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to mark that same 10.75 in. And then I added extra ½ inch to it for sewing. So whatever you mark, make sure you add ½ into it for sewing. So I'm marking that same measurement, 10.75 plus ½ inch at the waistline as well. And then I'm going to be joining the points together. Note the ½ inch is for sewing. Next, I'll be going in by 2 inches at that point. And then I'll be going up by 2 inches as well. After that, I'm going to be joining the 2 points together with my curve. Next, from that point, come in by 1 inch. I'm going to be connecting from that point to that 2 inches point I marked up. So you have a curve like this. Next thing I'll be doing is to mark or divide my waist by 4. Whatever I get, I'm going to mark it from that point in. You see, I didn't mark from the side. I marked from the center front in. So do it that way. I added extra ½ inch to it for sewing. And then I'll be adding extra 1 inch to it for the darts. So if you're not adding a dart to your pants, ignore this 1 inch. I'm adding a dart to it. That is why I added the 1 inch. Next, I'm going to be connecting to the hip line. After that, I'm going to be dividing from that line to the ankle line into 2. So you notice I didn't measure to the folding line. It's just to the length of the actual trouser. So the folding allowance I added is not part. So after dividing it by 2, I marked it down there. And then I'm going to be going up from that point 2 inches. When you divide it by 2, whatever you get, mark it down and then go up by 2 inches to get the knee line. And then after that, we are going to be drawing a straight line over there to indicate the knee line. Next, I'm going to be dividing from that point into 2. So whatever I get, I'm going to mark it down and then I'll retake the measurements and then mark that same thing on the knee and then the ankle line and then the folding line. Then I'll be joining the points together with my ruler. Next thing I'll be doing is to divide my knee into 2. So my knee is 18. I'm going to divide it into 2, which I have 9 inches. With the 9 inches, I'm going to divide the 9 inch also into 2. I'm going to divide the 9 inches into 2. And then I'll be marking half on both sides. So I'll be marking 4.5 at this side and then 4.5 at the other side. And at the end of the day, when you measure, you are going to get your 9 inches. So I'll be joining the points together so you see what I have. So watch the way I'm placing my ruler and then do it that way to get a perfect fit. So I'm marking from the hip to the knee this way, and then at the other side I'm going to be turning it to mark. So just pay attention. So with the knee, you realize I didn't add any extra inch to it for sewing, I'm going to be adding quarter on both sides of the knee. Quarter of an inch to both sides of the knee. So when you add the two quarters together, you are going to get half inch. So that is the quarter I'm marking over there, and then I'm marking it at the other side as well, and then I'll redraw in my line. Next, I'm going to measure the size of the knee other side, and then I'm going to mark it on the knee line. So on the ankle line, sorry. So on the ankle line, you can decide to make it straight, or you can make it make it into something like a trumpet. So however you want it to be, you go ahead and then do it. But then with mine, I added extra half inch to the size of the knee to make it a little curvier. So that is all I did for the ankle line. Next, I'm going to be joining the lines together with my straight ruler. So at this point, I'm labeling the parts of the trouser, and then that is all for the front. I'll be cutting it out and use that same pattern to cut out the back. So you realize the stretchy part comes around the body, and the part that is not stretchy goes down. Take note of that. Like I said, I'll be using the front to cut out the back. So I'm going to be folding another fabric into two. That is the same crepe fabric. And then I'm going to place it on. Like I said, I use 3 yards for this tutorial. So on the ankle line, I'm going to be adding 2 inches to it, and then on the line for the folding allowance as well. On the knee line, I'll be adding 2 inches to the knee line as well. But then on the crotch line, what I'm going to be doing is to divide the hip by 4. Whatever I get at that center line, I'm going to be marking it out. So remember, I had 10.75 inches. So from that center line, I'm marking that 10.75 inches at that point. If this is confusing, just use 4 inches at that side. But if you are curvier or your back is heavier, you can use from 4.5 to 5 inches if your butt is bigger or you are thick. So that is all you need to do for a perfect fit. Next thing I'll be doing is to extend the waistline this way, and then I'll be marking 2 inches out, and then somewhere midpoint I'll be marking 2 inches out as well. So the middle of this line, just mark it and then mark 2 inches out as well. After that, I'll be joining from that point to that point. Then I can now connect with my curve. At the knee and ankle, I'll be using my straight ruler to connect the points together. On the waistline, I'm going to be going up by 1.5 inches for the back. So mark 1.5 up there, and then I'll be joining it to the waist later. So like I said, when you finish drawing or marking the back, make sure you have 4 inches. But if you are thicker or caviar, make sure you have about 4.5 or 5 inches at the back. Next, I'll be connecting from that new point to the waistline with my ruler. So I already added that allowance to the front, so there's no need to add any dart to the back because it's already in the front and we can take it out on the back as well. Next, I'll be cutting out my patterns or my trouser. So after cutting, I'm going to be pinning the front separately and then the back separately. So the sewing video will be uploaded soon. Kindly subscribe to my channel and get notified whenever I post my videos. So like I said, I'm pinning it together at the wrong side. Note the cutting out is always done at the wrong side of the fabric. So pin it down this way, and then when it's time to sew, we will sew it. So that is all for the tutorials. Thanks for watching. See you another time. Bye.